welcome to the Brew Is Back, Uncut and Uncensored. I am Erickka Jones, and welcome. I'm doing it, baby. I'm doing it. What? Y'all, I am so freaking excited to be here. Let me tell y'all. Okay, first, let me say that by the time this first episode is finished, I want y'all to have an idea who I am and what the brew is. Because I am saying that the brew is back. But what the heck is the brew? We don't know. Some of y'all may know, though. If y'all been rocking with me since Bitches Brew, then y'all got an idea. So by the time this episode is finished, I want y'all to feel like y'all know me, and I want y'all to have a reason to come back next week for the next episode. So I want to start with a little story. I started out on this podcast journey 15 years ago. What? Yes. 15 years ago, I did a pilot podcast. Now, at this time, podcasts were new on the scene. There was no video, it was only audio. And I don't know, I've always been a writer, which I'll get into, but something spoke to me about just being able to verbally explore topics. Writing takes time, y'all. Writing takes time. And something just really spoke to me about that medium. So I was living in LA at the time. I was married. I'm since divorced, recently divorced. But I was married at the time. And I had a couple of my friends call in, and we were just like, we picked a topic, which I don't even remember, and we got into it. We had a blast. But by the time I finished, I didn't know what to do with that podcast, nor did I have the capacity because I was pregnant. And I quickly realized that I wasn't going to be able to start a podcast at that time. So I put it on the shelf. And I put it on the shelf. But what I did do is I started writing in some other mediums. But before I get into that, let me backtrack it a little bit. I am from Toledo, Ohio. And if you don't know Toledo, Toledo is the most northern point of Ohio, right before you get into Michigan. So we're 45 minutes from Detroit. Our claim to fame is the Toledo Mud Hens baseball team. Now, the Mud Hens, that's our baseball team. We got this cute little stadium downtown. So people from Toledo, some people say that we from the mud because of the Mud Hens. So, it's funny because when I think about myself, I'm like, you know what? I think I am. I'm from the mud. I think I don't mind getting dirty. I don't mind getting dirty. I can get a little angry black woman.
Larry, what the fuck are you doing?
I was emptying the trash.
And that better not be the money out my goddamn purse. Get the shit out and get the fuck out of here.
I moved to New York when I was 18 to become a model. I was a Beth Ann model. Now, if you don't know Beth Ann Hardison, there was a movie that just came out on her life.
I always know you can change things. I've done it before.
Everyone's talking about diversity and inclusion. That directly stems from the work that Beth Ann did.
Without her, the opportunities wouldn't exist for me to do what I love.
She's like a second mother to me.
That one shining light of kindness.
We're all students of Beth Ann Hardison.
Invisible Beauty. So I was a model. I got published for the first time for Trace magazine, and I ended up writing a relationship column called Bitches Brew for Trace.
My name is Erickka Jones, and my thing is I'm a writer. I'm motivated to write about sex and relationships. I got my start at Trace magazine, where I started writing a sex relationship column. And now I'm working on my first book. It's risque, sometimes it's raw, sometimes it is just in your face, sometimes you don't want to hear it. I'm turned on by honesty and humor. It's my thing.
I had topics like, are you a dick, pussy, or cunt, cock kind of girl? What is your sexual lingo? Listen, y'all, the brew, I haven't gotten into what the brew is, but it is 18 and over. So it ain't for no kids. I don't expect or suspect that there are any kids on here. But if so, this ain't for you. I know they ain't checking for what I got to say anyway. I was an MTV VJ, y'all. Now this goes back, and there might be some people. Let me tell you, one thing about me is when I know people for life. So I might have people listening now that I know from elementary school, high school. I'm a singer, y'all. A singer. I recorded an album 20 years ago, and I just released it last year for my 53rd birthday. I'm 54. I just had a birthday. Telling y'all just little things about me. I had 2 kids, now I'm divorced. What else about me? Oh, I wrote on a show called A Love Tale, which is basically a Harlem-based Sex in the City for queer Black women. Check it out. It's streaming on BET Plus. So yeah, that's some of the things that I have done. And one of the things, like I said, 15 years ago when I first set out to potentially do a podcast, I did not do the podcast, but I did start writing for magazines and digital outlets. I have over a couple hundred articles, y'all, on just out there in the cyber sphere, written for Essence and Ebony, Exo Nicole, She Knows, Romper. And yeah, curlynikki.com. I used to be a managing editor for that website. And I also had a column in Madame Noir, Mommy Noir, where I called Pop Mom, which was pop culture from a mom's perspective. Yeah, one of the topics I wrote about, it would get real though, because one of the things I wrote about was leaving my baby in the car. Y'all, I was that girl. I was living in LA. My baby was 6 months, and I had a 1-something-year-old. You know, I'm overworked and underpaid. Running late to pick up my older daughter from daycare, school, whatever, and I just like wheeled into that parking lot, jumped out of that car, and was gone. And living in Sherman Oaks, which is actually the valley, which is very hot. It's very hot in the valley, if you know anything about LA. So I left her a car in the valley in the summertime. So I'm in the waiting for my other daughter to, like come out, and I hear her mom say, someone left their baby in the car. And I'm looking around like, who did it? Who did that? And then it was, oh shit, you did that, bitch. It's you. It was like, I felt a lot of guilt. Felt a lot of guilt around that. Oh my God. Wanted to keep it from my husband. I was like, what is he going to think of me if I, to know, ooh. But, so anyway, coming clean and writing about it, was very cathartic, and that's what writing has always been to me. It has always been a place where I heal, where I get those thoughts out. And I just realized, I was moving too fast. And I was a new mom, and I needed to slow it the F down, which is what happened after that incident. So anyway, that's my writing. And you know what? I'm going to get into the brew. Y'all, I'm going to get into what the brew is, if y'all just bear with me. But yeah, I want y'all to meet some of the people who are close to me, because you can tell a lot about a person by who they surround themselves with, right? So instead of me just continuing to talk, and then y'all get like bored and don't want to come back next week, I'm going to just, just like bump it up a little bit. So y'all, I have a few people that I want y'all to meet on this first episode. And the first person, we're just going to jump into it. The first person that I want y'all to meet is my mom, Sarah Jones. My mom, we're from Toledo. My mom is known for being brutally honest. I want to see more of your face.
No, not that close.
Wait a minute. Now, what about here?
There is better. Yes, I see you. Yes, here we go. Can that be comfortable for you?
You don't have to because I'm on this little shit over. Okay, how's that?
Good. Okay. So, okay, listen, we about to get this on and popping. We've only tried to do this like 30 times.
Come on out now.
Take
Have some better questions or something. Go ahead.
take first question. What was the first thing you said when you saw me when I was born?
Wow. She's awful light.
Let's see how much you know about me. Who's my favorite writer?
Alex Baldwin, huh?
You said Alex Baldwin.
No, I didn't. No, yes, I did. I'm sorry. Cut that out. The white man. And he ain't even a writer.
Okay, so we're gonna take that as James, and I'm gonna say
Yeah,
correct.
I couldn't think of his name, James Baldwin, yeah. And then I started to say Maya Angelou too, though.
Yeah, both would be correct. Both would be correct. That's good. That's good. Okay, who is your favorite between me and my brother Darian?
Darian.
Can't you just lie because it's my podcast?
Oh, I forgot it was you.
So y'all, next up, I have my my longest running, my first BFF. Now let me tell y'all, I actually have a lot of women, a lot of friends, and really great female friends. You have like certain women that are like, I don't get along with women. I got more male friends. I am, Listen, I love my sisters. I could not do without them. I love my female friends, my girls. And so anyway, this is my first BFF. This is Darnita Turner, and we just call her Nita for
You
short.
remember the thing that I used to do in high school that used to gross all y'all out when when we would have sleepovers?
Okay. Oh, with the eating situation? Yeah. When you were dieting, is that what you're talking about? And so you would just chew the food, but you wouldn't swallow it. So whatever it was, there would be no swallowing. No swallowing. That's hilarious.
Share something about me that people probably don't know or wouldn't expect.
What I can tell them something they probably don't know is that you cannot drive and you've never been able to drive. Horrible driver, but was the only one that had a car in high school, right? And so we were always being driven around by you.
Wait, so what exactly is wrong with my driving?
I don't know. It's just kind of generally just bad.
Okay, okay.
Funny.
Okay. So let's see. What do you want people to know about me?
People should know that you are an awesome person. You are always very positive and uplifting. You always try to find the good in every situation. You're dependable, trustworthy, um, just generally a nice, good person. Just
Oh,
a good person, and always have been. Yeah.
oh.
Oh, I got. Oh, wait a minute. I have something they probably don't know. I want to go back a little bit. In high school, um, is when you started modeling and doing stuff and like that, and so a lot of girls were jealous, and so some girls jumped you, and they like beat the crap out of Erickka, and like the doctors was like, I think I remember like the doctors were saying like she probably won't model again because it's like they targeted your face, right? Like I mean, like so bad, so because your mother and my uncle was a thing, and that my uncle had to go in there. Yeah, my uncle had to go in there because your mother was like, no, that's not my kid. And yeah, and so they just targeted her face and really, really did a number on her, whatever. But then we searched for those girls. With Erica driving, still driving, we searched for those girls. I don't know where they went for them few days, but we looked.
We
We
sure did.
tried to find them. We did. We sure did. We was gonna get them though. We didn't find them.
If we would
Yeah,
have
we would
found them.
find them because we was riding deep.
I almost feel like, do I need to address getting the crap beat out of me? Y'all heard it. Basically, I got jumped. And I didn't even know I got jumped, but they beat the stuffing out of me. And thank God, God is good because you can't tell. But it looked like your girl might not have ever made it to New York if they would have been mission accomplished. But here I am. God is good. Anyway, next up, y'all still rolling. Y'all still down for this journey to continue this first episode of the Brew Is Back. I'm hype, y'all. I feel like I gotta have music. I need to have a way to have music playing in the background. Next up, we have someone that I met while I was managing the website Curly Nikki. Now, for those of y'all that don't know, Curly Nikki is a website that came on the scene at the beginning of the natural hair movement. At that time, us moving to our natural texture hair was very new. A lot of us we were shunned by work, shunned by some family members. People didn't understand. We had questions, we had thoughts, we needed encouragement, and curlynikki.com was here at the forefront of that movement. And the women have always been very engaged. I was asked to manage the website and had a blast. There were some amazing Black female writers that I got to work with. Brenda is just one of them, but she's one of my favorites. What I love about Brenda is she was always on time with her articles, and if she met her deadlines, and if she wasn't, she would let me know ahead of time. She had always had an interesting take. She was fearless in taking an opinion, which is so important if you're writing for sites, digital sites. Whenever she pitched me, it was always something that I felt like, I want to read that. Yeah, so you can tell a lot about a person through who they've worked with. What do the people say who have worked with them? You think you so hot. What do they say? So I want y'all to meet Brenda because she's just an awesome person, and y'all should be also familiar with her. She is a writer and now she's doing entertainment correspondence work, interviewing a lot of celebrities. Y'all, without further ado, here is Brenda. What's up, Brenda?
Erickka, how are you?
Girl, I am so good. So I have talked about you being one of my favorite writers, especially during my time managing Curly Nikki. So I said, you know what? Instead of me just doing a lot of talking about it, let me get you to come on and tell me what was the experience like working, contributing to Curly Nikki and working with me as an editor.
Yeah,
And it better be good. No, speak your mind. Whatever it is, I can take it.
That's actually one of my favorite jobs. I have nothing but positive things to say about my time working with Curly Nikki and working under your leadership. First and foremost, like just being able to freely write in my voice. That's something that I learned from you, like as an editor, now that I'm an editor myself, allowing writers keeping their voice within the edit. And that's something that I've always said that you're probably the only editor that I've had that's done that. A lot of times people edit to their voice or to their liking, and the writer's voice can really get lost in that. But yeah, you were super cool. It was really fun to be able to have topics assigned to me, but also be able to freely pitch Luckily, most of them were accepted. And you also had you still have one, but you had a moral compass too. It wasn't just about the business or the story. You were very careful with like not doing things that were too salacious. Even if it was a hot topic, it was just all about having, I guess you can say, like respect within the piece. I remember we did an interview that I was really excited about. It was for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and the subject that I interviewed asked me like in the ninth hour, the night before, like if we could pull it because she just wasn't ready to, talk about her experience on a public level like that. And you were so understanding, whereas because of who that person was attached to, it would have immediately like picked up traction. But you weren't into like the whole buzzworthy thing. It was just more so about, preserving the person's sanity, I guess you could say at that time. So it was really good working under you. And that's not something that I take for granted because it's just not really many editors or people like you in the business. But Curly Nikki, the site was great. I was so sad when, we had to part ways, for unforeseen reasons or things beyond our control. But
Yeah.
it was a really good, like, first partially full-time writing position.
Sometimes we would go back and forth. Like when you talk about like, it wasn't always a first draft, that would get accepted.
I like that you never like canned a piece. It's so easy because you are like, journalism is a full-time thing. And like when you write in the lifestyle and entertainment space, it's kind of like I equate it to like working in a newsroom. If you ever work for like a local news station, it's nonstop and things are forever changing. So you're kind of like always racing against time to get the story out. And although like a lot of stories were timely, if there was something that needed to be edited or that you wanted it to kind of go a different way, you would never can the piece. You would always give me directives and suggestions on like, how to make it better or how to, just tweak it to fit the site and to get it out in the manner that it needed to get out. Yeah, there were times that we went back and forth about pieces, but it was always in a respectful manner. You were never like critical to the point that like I was shut down or like I was just, I felt a certain way about my writing. It was always constructive criticism. So you were definitely, like I said, it's very rare in this industry to get that. So
what are you doing now? Because I've been seeing you.
I'm still writing. So I'm a full-time journalist and editor. So I write for a handful or work for a handful of publications or online publications. So I write for I'm the reality TV lead editor for Collider. I am the unscripted editor for Blavity. I'm a staff writer for popculture.com, and then I freelance. I contribute to BET. I do entertainment reporting for Fox 5 Good Day Atlanta. I do that a few times a month. Now I'm under contract with them. So I've been doing a lot more like commentary and interviews versus, writing. So that's fun, and being able to, give my little Wendy Williams hot take on things is always a plus.
Okay, you gotta tell me, what are you looking forward to with the Bitches Brew podcast?
Oh, I'm looking forward to everything. First of all, I don't think like people who know you because like you've done so many different things. Like you modeled, you wrote, you write, you have music. So I'm looking forward to seeing like all of those things merged into one. I'm always surprised by all the people too. If you keep that stuff like so on the low. That's not something that you lead with. Another thing that's rare in this industry, everybody leads with who they know or who they've interviewed or, who they're friends with. And that's not something that you do. So every time you do it, I'm like, I always forget how connected Erickka is. So I'm looking forward to see other guests that you have and just learning more about your career trajectory as well, because you have lived 1,000 lives. Okay.
I actually have. Okay. I love that.
Next up, we have someone who is near and dear to my heart, Claude Grunitsky, publisher of Trace magazine, where I got my writing start. Claude is my mentor, my friend of over 30 years. He was the first person to recognize me on that scale as a writer. And Yes, he made the time to come chat with me on this first episode, and he is so busy. He is now a venture capitalist among so many other things. He is here, and we're just going to chat it up about, just chat it up. Y'all just hang out with us.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh my gosh, it's the first, the Brew Is Back.
Yes.
And so I even wanted to speak to you because you are such a part of Bitches Brew and the Brew. You're my mentor, my friend of, I would say almost like 30 years at this point.
Yes.
30 years. Claude was the first person to publish me. So he saw something, which I'm asked that first question. What did you see in me or my writing that made you say, hey, write for Trace Magazine?
Well, with
True Magazine.
Exactly.
True.
We started with True Magazine, which only lasted a year. True folded after a year, and then I launched Trace Magazine. But when we first met in London, there was a real sense that we were totally on the same vibe and that we had a shared mission, as in promoting Black culture, but then we did it from the perspective of integrating different kinds of Black cultures. And we were both very much interested in fashion, music, publishing, and the things that would help to promote a different image of Black people, but also looking at how Black people mix with other cultures and how Black culture intersects with other cultures.
Right.
And I feel like because we were so aligned, it didn't really feel like work.
Yes.
And as soon as I read your writing, I realized that you've got a way with words. And, you know, certain people can just write naturally. It's not difficult for them because it's almost like a nature.
Yeah.
And initially, when I met you, you were working as a model. I hadn't really met any models who could write really beautifully the way you did. And I think that my attraction to words, having really grown up as somebody who became more confident as a writer, meant that I recognized you as somebody who could be a co-conspirator, and we were kindred spirits in a way, right? Finding our voice in London in an environment where we were outsiders looking in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, do you remember how we met?
Oh, wow. I think that we met when you showed me your portfolio as a model.
No.
Is that?
No, so you don't remember how we met.
No.
This is how we met. I was in London modeling and I came across a newspaper that you buy. It was like a newspaper. I don't know if I want to say for the homeless.
Oh yeah, the big issue. I used to write a column there every week.
So he wrote a column every week in this magazine called, what was it called?
It was called The Big Issue. It's still called The Big Issue. It's been going for years.
So I picked up this this newspaper, this magazine, and I read Claude's. I read one of your articles, your column. I read it.
It was called On the Edge. That was what my column was called.
It was called, okay, On the Edge. So I'm reading this, and he's talking about being successful, and now women are trying to holler that weren't interested in you before. So I'm reading this article and I'm like thinking like, I'm like not digging what you're saying. Right? So this is pre-internet.
Right.
So back then, if you wanted to say something, if you had a comment, your ass had to write it out, stamp it, and send that to the magazine. Like there was no, these comment bandits that just say whatever they want in seconds and move on, like totally insult you or whatever.
You realize how this is aging us, right?
So this was old school. So so I wrote a letter to the Big Issue. The Big Issue. Telling you what I did not like about what he said. I told him what I didn't like about what he said, but then I said I invited you to see things differently.
Yeah.
You got in touch with me after reading that. Either you called me or you wrote back, because this was like old school. I think maybe my number was there. So you got in touch with me and you invited me over to True.
Okay.
To meet you in person. So anyway, I made a lot of assumptions about you, Claude, like in my rebuttal to what you said, or my, my comment to what you said, I made a lot of assumptions, and so you broke it down. You're like, no, this was not true, but I like your style.
Wow.
And so I think that was the first thing that you read of mine.
Wow. And at that time, True was being published out of the offices of Dazed and Confused magazine. And it was in the neighborhood in London called Shoreditch. And then we became closer after I moved to New York, having started Trace in London.
Okay, so I'm going to move it forward to Bitches Brew. So if someone were to ask you how you would explain the column Bitches Brew, and I guess how would people, what would you say was the thing about it that some people liked and some people probably hated? I think I remember, I'll let you tell, and then I'll share something that you told me when I was initially writing it in the beginning and having a little bit of a hard time.
Yeah. No, for me, the Bitches Brew column started with the name. I felt that the name Bitches Brew was really powerful because obviously it was the title of a very important Miles Davis album, and I consider Miles to be the ultimate genius in that age of the jazz age, to the point where my son is called Jazz. That's how much I love jazz. Yeah. Because being a hip hop head and really promoting hip hop culture through Trace magazine at the time, I really felt like a lot of the inspiration came from what the jazz musicians had done, and Miles Davis was the ultimate. Yeah. And also the other thing too was the hip hop lingo was very much using the word bitch in a very kind of derogatory way to speak of women, and I felt that Bitches Brew was a way to subvert that and to really speak about the power of women by taking a very negative connotation that was associated with the word bitches. And so with you, what I saw in encouraging you to write this column was a really singular voice who was not afraid to be controversial. Because remember, this was like the golden age of hip hop that was very much driven by men and what I'll just call misogyny.
It's better have my money.
And I felt like you took the bull by its horns and really had a very opinionated take on being a young woman in the world of fashion, in the world of music, in the world of media, and expressing certain things that other women might be afraid to express. Right. And given that you are a very gifted writer, I felt that it would take a while for you to find your voice, and the column ended up becoming really popular, and I feel like you might have learned something about yourself from writing that column and getting feedback from readers as we would get back in the day. So that was my perception as the founder and editor-in-chief of Trace. I was like, I really want you to shine by really saying whatever you want to say without being afraid of how people would judge you.
Yeah, and it's funny because I remember at one point in the beginning, and when people started reading and like giving feedback, sometimes like people were not happy with what I was saying.
Yes.
And I remember I shared that with you, like, I don't know, and you said, listen, if they're not talking about you, then you're not saying anything. You said, like, let them talk. Like, they're thinking about you. They're, just do you, basically, and let them talk. Like, they should be talking.
Yes.
They should be talking. And so once you said that, I felt like I was set free. You know what I mean? Once I stopped caring about what people thought, because that was kind of what was really behind it. Then it was like, all systems go,
Yeah.
And I had a ball writing it.
Yeah, I could feel it, and readers could feel it, because I was also reacting to the fact that I felt like there was a lot of lazy journalism out there. Because we were all about promoting the subculture of hip-hop as it was becoming more mainstream, we wanted to be cheerleaders for this new kind of global youth culture. But at the same time, we had a lot of things that we needed to criticize within the culture. And I felt like you, being at the center of the culture, you had a specific point of view on things that were wrong and that needed to be called out, and also things that were great that needed to be exposed and dissected in a different way. So I really, really enjoyed reading those columns and editing them over the years, And it was also very much just making it up as we went along, right?
Yeah.
That's what I loved about that journey
Yeah.
with Trace Magazine. We were all so young and just trying to invent something new without having a playbook, without having any sort of instructions manual.
Yes.
And I think that that's what made it so fresh for so many people.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I also have to like acknowledge you for being able to spot talent, though, because some of the people that you have worked with over the years, you were the first to work with them.
Absolutely.
You know, me, not to say I'm not by far the most accomplished.
I want to start maybe chronologically and mention people like Smokey Fontaine.
Oh my gosh, I forgot Smokey.
Yeah, Smokey. Yeah, he was there in the beginning, and he was very much a voice of Trace and the face of Trace in the United States before I moved to New York. And he's now got a big job working for Apple. John Caramanica also is now, he's been a writer at the New York Times.
Wow.
You know, now for I think 15 years. He's got his own very popular podcast called Podcast.
Wow.
And Chioma started in London when she contacted me, and I remember bringing her to the United States to work with us at Trace, and she rose through the ranks, and then she became the editor-in-chief of Vogue.com, and now she's the head of British Vogue.
Oh my God!
And so when you think of that journey, I thought about this a lot of how so many people who came through Trace ended up doing really well, and I realized that it was because of the fact that we didn't have very much money. You know, I remember the first few years in Trace where I was always stressed about money because I didn't have any funding. Because
we were always hounding you about like, Claude, we love
when are you gonna get when will we
where's
get
that
paid? Exactly. And I was always trying to sell advertising in order to pay, and I was always late, always late with the rent. And what I realized though is as Trace became more successful and bigger, I realized that we might have lost some of the edge of the early days, the grit that comes with having to do a lot with very little. And it's, you know,
because
paradoxical.
everybody was giving their like best and their all to this publication that we believed in. It had so much soul and so much heart, Trace. And the parties, man, the parties would be like stacked around the corner, the lines to get in. It was really culture. It was culture, you know, and it was New York culture. And it was present, and it was alive, and it was all inclusive.
It was
multicultural.
Transcultural.
Transcultural.
You know, black people, white people, straight people, gay people, uptown people, downtown people, Brooklyn people, all kinds of immigrants.
Felt welcome. Brew. Segueing a little bit, you know, because we could do Trace all day.
Yes, but let's talk about the brew.
Because you're going to be telling me, "Oops, got to get going, Erickka." So I'm going to get you for these questions. So when you think about the brew now, what are you looking forward to with this podcast, and what advice would you give me?
Well, I want to take it back to Trace one more time before I bring it back to brew.
Do that. Absolutely.
For me, the defining cover line for Trace was when I proclaimed that black girls rule. And I've always seen you as one of those black girls who are really ruling. And Bitches Brew, the original Bitches Brew, was very much about that. The same spirit of being strong, being resilient, and just recognizing that black women are not as powerful as they should be in society. And so when I think of the brew now, I feel like black women's voices are more important than ever, because they don't get enough credit for all the work that they do and for helping to keep everyone in check in terms of family and just being providers, being caretakers, but also being leaders in the world of literature, in the world of cinema, in the world of music.
Everything. Honestly, everything. Let's just be real.
Exactly.
It's everything. Mothering. But you know what? We are the mothers of the earth. We come from the oldest lineage on the planet. You know, so through that bloodline there has to be there's history, there's wisdom, there's all those things, and we could try to deny it or let others, you know, shit on it because it's gaslighting at the end of the day. Or we can really step into our own. But you did definitely recognize the beauty and strength of black women with your Black Girls Rule. That They're like, y'all Google these things online. Black Girls Rule, Trace Magazine.
Yes.
Like, Google it. But the most beautiful covers and black women and models and the spirit, the most awesome t-shirts, you know what I mean? But no, you have always gotten the beauty of black women, black girls.
But one thing I realized, if I think of what the critical path might be for the Brew, is the importance of capital. Because for so many years, whether it was Trace or True Africa, all my media ventures, I only focused on promoting a better image of black women and black people and people of color in general. But I realize what we need now is capital. And I believe that the Brew should be financially sustainable in order to keep growing, in order for you to have a voice that could become as big as Oprah Winfrey's voice or whoever it might be that you feel that you can emulate. And that's one of the reasons I decided to become a venture capitalist, which is what I do now. I invest in women and people of color in the tech space, because I feel like what we need is capital in order to get to the next level. Not just better media representation, better image in the mainstream media. It's how do we own our media assets? How do we own our companies? If you consider that black women are pretty much almost 7% of the US population, and they only get 0.1% of the funding in venture capital, the industry that I'm working in now, I feel like that's the problem. And so the only thing I would say about the Brew as you think of growing your brand is finding ways to really make it sustainable, profitable, so that you also are accumulating capital and are providing capital for the next generation of black women who are trying to launch their own media businesses.
I heard that.
That's a really important part of it. And it comes with the authenticity of the voice, right? How did Oprah become so successful? Is because everybody recognizes how authentic she has always been. And whether you like her or not, you can't deny the authenticity. And I feel like, the Brew should also aim to create something that will be just as authentic, and hopefully the authenticity will just keep it growing year after year.
Got it.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm always thinking business first, because I've seen too many media ventures come and go. We were talking about magazines that folded, that only were published for a couple of years. We've seen all kinds of podcasts that have come and gone. What I'm really interested in, how do we stay in the game and own our own assets? And I find that so many black people who are launching businesses, they don't have any startup capital. They tap into their savings.
I ain't got no startup capital.
There you go. And most black people that I know, they don't. And so I was thinking of new ways to create pathways to startup capital for people who are launching businesses. Because I've always been a founder. I'm a first generation founder. And as somebody who's launched several businesses, I realized the importance of having startup capital.
Well, holla at your girl.
Absolutely.
Because I ain't got no startup capital. I'm just starting. At this very second, I'm just getting started. Started, in the words of Arthur Ashe, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can.
There
and
you
that's
go.
what I'm doing,
Right. But my belief is that, similar to what I did with Trace and then eventually also with True Africa, is if you create something that's really great, that's really valuable, that people see as authentic, as differentiated, the money will come, the capital will come. And that's how, even with Trace in the beginning, I was able to attract big name advertisers like Nike and Levi's and all these big companies, because they could see that we were about something that was really authentic. And I think that, the key is to produce really quality work, and then the capital will come.
Especially if you know you're going for it.
But you have to want it. You have to know that you need the capital.
Exactly.
And you can't be in this mindset that, I'll figure it out. Which is unfortunately the mindset that I was in for a couple of years.
Got you. Yeah, I totally get that. I get that. Okay.
Yay, a real pleasure.
All right, y'all. We really cooking, because I'm about to tell y'all what the Brew is. What? Y'all done waited this long. What is the motherfucking Brew? What is this Brew all about? Okay? Well, I'm about to tell y'all. I want y'all to imagine that Bitches Brew grew up. Bitches Brew that I was writing in my 20s and early 30s grew up. now in the mid 50s. So that's a lot of seasoning, a lot of time, a lot of brewing. So things get better with time. Y'all listen, no matter what it is, things get better with time. More wisdom, more understanding, more fun, less fucks to give. That is the brew. It is a weekly podcast where I'm going to be coming back and just being 1,000% real and really talking about the things that are at the top of our mind. I'm coming back. Me, the brew is back, actually, because there is a lot going on that we need to talk about, that I want to get into, that I need to talk about and need to understand. We're going to talk about angry Black woman. What does it mean to be an angry Black woman? People try to put that on us. I'm telling you, that is me. I get angry. I get very angry sometimes. That's not everything about me, but it's definitely a part of me that I will not deny my anger, my Black anger, my Black motherfucking Black ass anger. Y'all gonna catch the smoke sometimes. There's some people out there that's gonna mess with the wrong one and catch some smoke, but the brew gets smoky. A brew gets smoky. And yeah, we're going to talk about back to Africa, people going back to Africa. Let's talk about it. I need my Ghanaian passport and my which country am I even going to take citizenship? Burkina Faso, Ghana. Let's get into it because people are moving back to Africa. There is a movement that is going on. But bitches brew, we're staying on top of things. We're keeping it current. We're talking about what's happening now. We are having a laugh. I'm calling up people. I'm getting opinions. It's not just me. The brew is always better when it's more than one thing inside. The more nuanced, more seasoning, the more percolating, the better. So the brew is back. We're exploring topics every week. Me and my peoples. We're having fun. We're being creative. We're going somewhere too. I don't know exactly where we're going, but a brew keeps going. It keeps going and it keeps going. And one of the things I want to just really say about the brew, what it is and why it's back is I think about the greats. My favorites have always been the James Baldwins, the Maya Angelou's, Zora Neale Hurston's, Langston Hughes, Miles Davis with his Bitches Brew album. These people they documented the times. And through them, we know what was happening at that time for our people. We know exactly what was happening because of them. Even Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, all of them. So for me, and for you, I want you to see the brew as a documentation of what is happening right now. We're getting into these topics. I'm talking to folks. It is so important now that we have our podcasts, that we're getting our true voices out there, because the mass media has been compromised. It has been thoroughly compromised. It is owned. So you're not going to go get news, breaking news, real news with a perspective that centers us from CNN and MSNBC and these places. But what you can trust is your people on a podcast, your people that you follow, that you trust. That is going to be more important than ever. The Don Lemons, the people that you trust, Don Lemon, Joy Reid, that Pastor Jamal, really pick who you follow and know that that's where you're going to have to go to know what's really going on. So I welcome you to come here. because we're going to be talking about what's really going on. And again, having fun at the same time. We like to have a laugh too. We like to have fun too. You have to laugh. So, so I want the brew. I want people generations from now to be able to look at the brew, listen to the brew and say, wow, okay, I know what my people were going through when this was happening, when there was a hostile government takeover. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me on this first episode. I hope that you have gotten to know me better. I hope you met some nice people that you'll want to follow on Facebook, Instagram. I'll put people's link there just so you can follow people. This is a community where we stay in touch. We get to know one another. Follow me. Right now, the best place to follow me is Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Fan base. I'm going to be migrating over to fan base. I'm still in the process, y'all. It's a process, but eventually I want to get off of these colonizer platforms, get off of the oligarch platforms. But right now it's still kind of best way for me to get this initial word out to y'all. Eventually I'm going to be having some lives, throwing some lives in there so we can go back and forth. Y'all can ask me questions, maybe even join me. I'll ask y'all a question and you can pop on. So, this is the beginning. We're going to expand, and more than anything, we're going to keep coming back and keep showing up. Thank you for staying through to the end. And I'm going to see y'all next week where we're going to get into our first topic. You don't even know y'all in for a treat. Yeah.